All right. So we are now recording. So I'll kind of officially start. So I'm excited that you all joined. Hoping a few more people pop in, but Kelly with Riverside Luxury Cruises is on with us, and she is the director of sales for the western part of the U.S. And I had the privilege to travel with her last year. So I just want to kind of mention why I chose this particular cruise. A lot of the clients that I work with and who have become my friends over the years, a lot of folks have already done the Danube. Have done a lot of river cruising, but I chose this specifically because it can either be the 4-night cruise or it can be the 8-night cruise. So if you've already done the Danube, it gives you the opportunity to go back, maybe do some different things. For example, when I was there, most of the river cruises that do the Danube, you only have like maybe one full day in Vienna. Mm-hmm. So if you do it this way, you can add an extra night or two in Vienna. And I mean, I'm a big fan of the art museum. So the day that I was in Vienna, guess what? They were closed. So, and I was like, oh, well, I will just come back. So no big deal. But so that'll give me the opportunity to stay an extra day or two in Vienna. Also, Budapest is obviously just one of the most incredible cities. So adding in a couple days there, or if folks have a bucket list of other places in Europe they want to go to, it's easy to hop on a train, one of those commuter flights to get to other places in Europe. So that was the idea. The other thing I love about, first of all, the ship is very unique, which I'll let Kelly talk about. But also with Riverside, you do have the option, you can pick and choose your excursions. So if you've already done the Danube, then we can maybe do some different things. Or the other thing I love about this is that, you could stay on the ship too, which most of the river cruises, I like to explain it, it's like a floating hotel. You're really, you're not there to be at the hotel. Whereas with Riverside, it's a little bit different. There's some amenities and some ways to enjoy the ship and kind of relax. You don't have to get off the ship twice a day. So that's another great thing about this itinerary. So with that, I will see if, I guess this is probably us, but I'm recording this so you can share it with your friends if they weren't able to join. So I'll send you the recording. Like I said, there was a couple people that said they were going to try to make it, but we'll see. So anyways, so Kelly, if you're ready, you could go ahead and share your screen and start.
All righty. Will do. Thank you, Amber. Yeah, Amber and I had a ton of fun together on the Riverside Debussy on the Rhine last August. And that was another really incredible itenerary from Basel to Amsterdam. If you haven't done that yet or it's on your list, highly recommend that. So I would ask before we get started, if you don't mind muting yourself just to eliminate any noises or distractions for anybody else that might be joining in or anything happening in the background. We know how that goes sometimes. But thanks again for taking the time to join in today. I'm so excited to talk to you about Riverside. Because we are really delivering an incredible river cruising experience. River cruising is absolutely blowing up right now. It's such a unique and special way to travel. And, I'm here to tell you all about why you should join this cruise with Amber and Riverside specifically. And I'll start a little bit with who we are. May not have heard about us yet. That's okay if not, because we're still getting the word out there. We just started operating actually just over 2 years ago. So we have some river cruise ships that were previously owned by another company that went under during the pandemic. The ships were up for sale. They were the most luxurious, beautiful ships in Europe. And our parent company, Seaside Collection, are the ones that scooped those right up when that opportunity came. So where we're coming at this is, we are really the best, most luxurious river cruise out there. You've picked the Bentley of river cruises to join in on here. And there's a lot of really unique features about Riverside that make us stand out. But we really want to be for, those clients that are looking for that luxury experience, to be pampered, amazing service, those that appreciate, that personal touch, the extra space, extra amenities, flexibility, And one of our biggest points too is about the cuisine. So if you're a foodie or a wine lover, there is no better line. And I have all confidence in the world saying that because we have been voted as the best river cruise line for dining 2 years in a row from Cruise Critic. And we've only been operating 2 full years. So it's very exciting. Forbes magazine even named us best river cruise line for foodies. So lots more to come on that. But we're sailing in Europe. So that's where we are exclusively. We've got 3 ships that we're sailing for the next few years as we start out. And we're on all these main rivers that you may recognize: the Danube, the Rhine, the Rhone, the Main, Moselle, Saône. So those 3 main rivers, the Danube, the Rhine, and the Rhone, and their tributaries. And we're sailing to destinations that are familiar, the bigger cities like Amsterdam, Cologne, Vienna, Budapest, but also to some maybe lesser known destinations like Bratislava, Slovakia, maybe some towns like Avignon in France, and even smaller, more picturesque and quaint towns as well. So this is just a visual of where we're sailing here. And you really get to choose kind of your own adventure here. And one of the main pieces that really help with that is that we've got flexibility in our itineraries, from not only 7-night cruises or longer, but we've got shorter cruises as well. I mentioned that our parent company is called Seaside Collection, and you might be wondering who they are. So they're a German family-owned company that's been in the hospitality and service industry for over 50 years. They've established, very strong following in the hotel side. Got 11 properties in mostly in Germany, a couple in the Canary Islands, and 1 in the Maldives, and a couple of restaurants that they've opened as well. So they've got just, a real passion for hotels and love of details, an affinity for water and ships coming from Hamburg, Germany. And they were introduced to this idea of a river cruise, luxury river cruise option missing from the rivers in Europe. And long story short, when the ships went for sale, they thought that is really what we're going for in terms of excellence, in terms of service, and in terms of cuisine. So brother, sister, Anushka Gerlach and Gregor Gerlach are running the scenes here for Riverside and Seaside Collection. Riverside is standing out in a lot of ways in the river cruise space. I mentioned that we are for luxury, those looking for that luxury kind of experience, service, cuisine. We're really redefining that concept of luxury as well. And these are some very key highlights of how we're standing out. I'd say to bullet point it into 4 easy bullet points would be our cuisine, our space, service, and flexibility. We've, for example, got personalized 24-hour flexibility or 24-hour service for every single guest. You don't see that on every river cruise, where every single guest or at whatever suite or cabin you're booked in, you get that 24-hour service available to you, or a butler for every single suite. There are king-size beds as well in every suite, and they can be separated if you'd like as well. Exceptional cuisine. We're spending twice the amount per guest on every sailing, sourcing fresh local ingredients. We're going to local markets, to even local vineyards, picking up the food, the wine, and really focusing on a regional flair. So you get to taste the area that you're sailing through. And there's always tons of options, always made to order too. So you're not eating anything frozen and reheated. This space is absolutely beautiful. We've got the largest average suite size on the rivers. So you're not going to be in these tiny, cramped, no light, little tiny rooms. And plus there's amazing space throughout the ship to enjoy as well. And because we have larger suites, larger public areas, even larger galleys in the kitchens. And Amber and I did a galley tour on the Riverside Debussy. She can attest to that too. On all of our ships, they were intentionally designed to have larger galleys and amongst the other public areas, so that in the galleys it's really closer to a hotel-sized kitchen, so that more chefs can be on board honing in their craft. And they've got all these different stations too that you can see, and where the orders are coming through. This station, this cream, the sauce station, the baking area, everything. So it's really, really unique in that way. So fewer guests on board. That means, we have fewer suites, fewer guests, and more crew. So you really feel that intimate personal experience. And then again, with the flexibility, you get choices no matter what you're doing, whether it's during dining, your shore excursions, whatever you want to do on board as well. So I've mentioned some of these points already about the service, what to expect, but I just want to make sure that I point out too that we also have a number of dining options that is unique. You don't see that on every river cruise line. We've got a pop-up bar and grill on the Vista deck. So that nice little picture is of our pop-up grill or pop-up bar, excuse me. This is super cool because it's a retractable bar that goes down, retracts when sailing under bridges and pops right back up. So when you're sailing, you can really use this area as well to enjoy and lounge and relax. There's bean bags, lounge chairs, tables, shade, anything you want. And then it's really fun when we can start operating those grills and have an alfresco lunch experience or even dinner. Another great spot to enjoy. And a lot of ships just don't utilize that space. And in the way that there's so much potential there. So that's a really neat feature that we have. We also have a specialty dining room. Yeah.
Can I just say that's like one of my favorite things?
Oh yeah.
Just none of the other river cruises that that I've been on have had that experience of the top deck and enjoying the scenery and having a beverage, and it's very special. So that's probably one of my favorite photos right there.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for saying that. Yeah. And Amber, feel free to pop in and offer your own commentary. I think that was really cool too. One of my standout moments of the cruises I've been on as well has been that time we had the lunch and we were going through the Rhine Gorge, where it's the part where there's these hills just dotted with castles and vineyards, and everybody's enjoying this amazing surf and turf lunch. And then we're watching that pass by. I mean, it could not get better. It was beautiful and exciting and just a perfect way to see the sights and enjoy. So that's really special. The specialty dining in the vintage room. Now this is an extra experience that you can choose to opt into or not. It's an extra cost, but that's also really unique that we've got that available. And since we are so big into food and wine, that's a special thing to consider for a special occasion. And I'll share more on that. But just again, with the flexibility, whether, you've got dining or food requirements, or you want a specific pillow, you want to really cater to your interest levels or activity levels for shore excursions, and have the choice to figure out how you want to explore. Take the bikes off the ship. Maybe you don't want to go on a tour and just do your own thing. Flexibility all around. But what's great is that you've got everything included. You've got the gratuities on land and on the ship that are included, all the port charges, taxes, service fees, Starlink, Wi-Fi, complimentary laundry service as well, or you have access to our laundry room, but you can always send it out to your butler for an extra cost too. So really customizing how much or how little that you want to utilize that as well. All right, so let's dive into our fleet. We've got 3 ships right now, and we're adding our other 2 in a couple years. So focusing on quality over quantity as we start out in the river cruise space. And we're going to be speaking about the Mozart today, where the ship that this cruise that we're talking about is sailing on. But I just wanted to point out the other ships, the Ravel that sails on the Rhone River in France. Think Avignon to Lyon or vice versa, south of France. And then the Debussy that Amber and I were on. So those 2 are sister ships, and they're your average river cruise ship size and everything. And the Mozart is pretty special because she's very unique. There's only one of her, and she is twice the width of the average river cruise ship. So 75 feet wide. Now, something that I want to point out is that even though she is larger than most other river cruise ships, the maximum capacity is only 162 guests and 81 suites. So here you're again seeing, fewer guests on board, larger suites, huge areas to go explore and enjoy. And I don't think that there's a better way to showcase this than a video, kind of a quick ship tour. I don't think the sound is going to play. It's just music, but I'll offer some commentary over it. I think it gives you a really good idea of what to expect. lots of attention to detail and lighting and wraparound promenade deck. The Mozart really is a very special ship, and I'm hearing time and time again how this isn't just a floating hotel, it's a floating resort. And I'll tell you more about that. But I want to dive in first to talking about the itinerary to start getting you guys excited about that. So we've got April 22nd to 26th of 2026. Can't believe we're already talking about spring of next year, but here we go. So we're focusing first on this 4-night amazing itinerary from Budapest to Vienna. So I don't, you know what? I don't have a clicker thing to show you, but Budapest there in Hungary. I mean, if you haven't been to Budapest, it's got to get on your list. And it's also, I feel like river cruising is a really great and safe and just efficient way to not only to travel, but also to see all these places and to dive into Eastern Europe. If maybe you're more familiar, let's say with Western Europe, but it's phenomenal place to be. So starting in Budapest, then making your way over to, oops, sorry, one second, my notes. Make your way over to Bratislava, Slovakia. That is the capital of Slovakia. Very, very interesting history. A beautiful city center town. Lots of color. There's an incredible museum there, the Danubia, that is like on an island on the Danube. I just did that myself actually a couple months ago, and even not being a huge modern art person, I was really glad that I did that experience because it is so unique. And, we still got a little glimpse of the city as well. But just for some examples of what things you might see there. But Bratislava is a very unique place to visit as well for the beer culture, very great food culture and food scene as well. And then there's a castle there that you can explore and visit as well. Then moving into our next stop, which is Tulln in Austria. This city, or town, I should say, dates back to Roman times. It was a really significant port town with a rich history and was a really important military and economic center. So rich heritage there. Was actually almost completely destroyed in World War II, but there's still a lot to see and explore there. And that's a beauty too of these river cruises. You're like, where the heck is Tulln? And you might think you would never go there without being on a river cruise, but that's the beauty of it too, is you get to really explore new and hidden gems as well. So then moving along to Vienna, Vienna is just the historic domain of all these monarchs, musicians, the Spanish riding school, if you're into horses, amazing buildings, amazing museums, so much to see and explore here. And like Amber said, on either end, I would always highly recommend adding a couple days or at least one other night and day to the itinerary. In Budapest and in Vienna, there's so much to see and do, and I could just go on, and you can let me know what questions you've got. But I wanted to show some pictures as well, just to give you a little visual as well of these places. So down at the bottom right-hand corner, starting the Budapest, the Parliament buildings there. And in Budapest, you've got the Buda side and the Pest side, and both are very unique and very different and very exciting. There's a lot going on there. That photo just above that's of the city center in Bratislava, and this photo is hard to see, but all of the buildings are really beautiful and like bright pastel colors. So that was a really unique experience for me, and I've traveled a lot in Western Europe, but it's just different. I hadn't seen anything like that. Above that, then going counterclockwise at the top, that is in Vienna, and the Belvedere Palace, I believe. I think I'm blanking now, but Vienna, there's just nonstop. You've got the Schönbrunn Palace, that was where the Habsburgs used to have their summer residence, and all these other important figures. We've got some really cool experiences that you can do there too. If you wanted to, I don't know the exact tours yet that are out for this particular itinerary. Those are coming, just a heads up, but those are just some ideas of what you can see there. That bottom corner picture on the left is the Schlogen Loop on the Danube. This is in Austria, and it's part of the Wachau Valley. And the Wachau Valley is just stunning. This is that part of Austria. It's super lush. It's very picturesque. It's really small towns all around. This area is known for its apricots. So there's a lot of apricot spirits and liqueurs, desserts, jams, things like that, which make great souvenirs. I will tell you that. And then what do we have here? This other little town. Oh, that other pictures of the city center of Tulln in the spring. So it gives you a nice idea of kind of what to expect there. So if 4 nights might not cut it for you, you want to stay longer and you're thinking, well, what if I want to do something longer? Where else can I go? This is actually part of one of our combo cruises. So I mentioned that we do have shorter cruises, shorter than 7 nights, which is your typical river cruise length. But we've got 3, 4, 5 night cruises as well on all of our rivers. And they're just kind of built in differently. So we've got a lot of options. And this would be another option to consider if you wanted to do something longer, especially if this is your first river cruise, or like Amber said, if you wanted to use the Mozart as a floating hotel as well. So this is the same thing. You go all the way starting Budapest through to Vienna, but then you would hit Dürnstein, Melk, Mauthausen, and Passau. So those are all along the way here. And Passau is just over the Austrian border there in Germany. A few more details that about these areas. I mentioned this area especially is when you're getting into the apricot region, and there is even a spirit tasting, liquor tasting area. In spring, that'll be a really nice time to visit too. Both destinations, Dürnstein and Melk, have beautiful abbeys as well to explore. The Melk Abbey is that beautiful golden color, and I've got a photo of that here. There we go, down there. So Melk, they're famous for that. And there's the one above with the blue abbey, and that's right in Dürnstein there. And then right above that is a castle. So here is another area full of just beautiful hills with castles and everything along that. We've got beautiful ruins, all these castles. Then we move into Mauthausen, which is now a tiny market town, and it is very small. It's very pretty from the ship. Nice spot to check out. Also has a darker history of World War II. There was a concentration camp here as well, so there's some history there to explore if you'd like it to. And then that top left-hand corner is of Passau, and it's one of my favorite towns. I've been there a couple of times now, most recently during my Christmas market cruise that I did with my family along the Danube, and then I did that a couple summers ago, and it was so cool. We rode our bikes across the border because it's right on that German-Austria border, and it's the confluence of 3 rivers, the Inn, the Ilz, and the Danube. So it was a really important city as well back in the day, especially for its logistics and transportation. And it's a university town. It's also home to Europe's largest organ. Heads up, it is under construction, so you will not be able to see it in its full grandeur, but it is in a beautiful cathedral. The town itself has so much to offer, and if you're ever doing a Christmas market cruise, make sure Passau's on your list, because it was just even more picturesque and amazing at Christmas. So lots and lots to see here, and you've got options depending on what time you have and kind of what your goal is. All right, let's start diving in now to the suites and what the onboard experience looks like on the Mozart. And I'm going to start with the lead-in suite categories called the Harmony suites. Now, these are our lead-in, meaning our lowest category. And I just want to point out that that for a river cruise ship, that image alone, I think, speaks volumes of the windows, the brightness, the size. Again, king size beds in every suite. This is starting at 219 square feet. That is pretty remarkable. Now, the Harmony Suite, you've got these two windows next to each other. They are fixed, so they don't open. But, if you are, just wanting to have a nice, comfortable room and spend most of your time out exploring or out in other parts of the ship, then this is a fantastic option. And here is what that bathroom looks like. Something fun and unique that all of our suites on the Riverside Mozart only have are heated towel racks and heated Toto toilets, the bidets, the Japanese bidets. So that's something extra. We've got Natura Bissé products, which is a luxury Spanish brand, in the bathrooms that I just hear also great feedback from. And, I hear details all the time from people. They seem like little things, but they really add up and make the experience like, oh my gosh, the water pressure was fantastic in the shower and the water stayed warm the whole time. And I loved the products. They didn't, make me feel dried out. They were really good quality. So we're looking at those quality things down to the lotions in your room. The next suite up would be the Riverside Suite. So these are all on deck 2. And I should point out, too, that the Harmony Suite, these are on water level, swan level, I should say. So if you poke out, you might see a swan outside there. But if you're worried about seasickness or motion sickness, that's not really something that you experience on rivers. So just in case that's any concern of yours. Riverside Suite, this is the exact same layout and size as the Harmony Suite, but it's on deck 2. And you can see here that there are French balconies. So same bathroom and everything. And then the next category up is our penthouse suite. And here you really can see with those French balcony doors open. This is a great option if you have 3 traveling in the same suite, because that sofa can pull out into a bed, or if you just want some extra space. And here you get a true walk-in closet. You have a bathroom with 2 vanity sinks and a separate bathtub and shower. So just some extra space there. And then this would be our top suite, our Mozart suite. Stunning room. I mean, this is basically like a condo, especially if you combine it with a Riverside suite to create 883 square foot suite. And that little peekaboo door shows you how the connecting room, but that's a real marble fireplace, a beautiful area to enjoy a living room and the dining if you want in-room dining. And then this bedroom faces the window. And has a door that closes, so it's a true bedroom. Huge walk-in closet right outside of that, and then that's the bathroom. So again, dual vanity sinks, the separate tub and shower. I mean, it looks like a boutique hotel bathroom. So those are some of the suites that you can start thinking about. And now talking about cuisine, my favorite part on Riverside. I mentioned to you already how we're differentiating in terms of what we're spending on guests. We're sourcing the fresh local ingredients. We're making the pastas, the breads, the pastries handmade on board every day. Really, it's like ask and you shall receive. If you don't see something on a menu or you have a hankering for some kind of dessert or a different kind of meal, all you have to do is ask. And the staff takes it very seriously, any of your dietary preferences or requests, and because they want to give you what you want. So we've got all of these options to tailor to your preferences. You get to try the region that you're sailing through, with our little Riverside twist. We've got absolutely stunning options in our buffets, especially, so you can try all these things. And something really special too is that we've got no assigned dining tables, no set dining times. You eat when you want, with whomever you want, and however much you want. This is really unique, and you'll see that we've got restaurant hours for the various restaurants. We also have multiple dining venues, and you can come and go as you want. So also in that way, you're never like waiting along in line or standing in a long line waiting for other people or forced to share a table if you don't want. So there's a lot of seating options. Tables for 2, tables for 4, tables for 8, in case you meet some friends and want to do a group dinner. So that's all great to keep in mind. And plus, we've got the 24-hour room service that's available. So if you want to eat and dine in your room, I love that option, especially for breakfast. When I'm not quite ready to see the world and see other faces, then I'll just have my butler bring me my breakfast in my room. And we already have coffee machines, or you can ask for a tea kettle like me as a tea drinker, and have that in your room the whole time. And so you can start your day that way and then have your breakfast delivered. But lots of options. So let's dive in a little more to those. Waterside Restaurant is our main dining. This is breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We've got breakfast and lunch with a buffet style. And that bottom right corner there, you can kind of see how that's set up. This is actually, it doesn't even do it justice, I have to say, but we've got a huge spread. And on the Mozart, there are 2 areas with the hot plates and whatnot, and they're doing made to order pastas, made to order omelets. And then you get to, browse all the tiny little selections of desserts and various salad bars, and they're switching it up every meal. You'll see some things, repeated. And if you ever didn't, and you could just ask for it. But I want to point out too, that you might think, oh, a buffet. I've had people scoff at that, but I've been on other river cruise ships, and I understand where that perspective might come from, because on a lot of other ships, the buffet is in the middle of the dining room. Not with our ships. They're all tucked away behind another set of doors. So you've got the main dining area, and that's that. And then you walk to the back of the restaurant to go in through the buffet area. And at dinner time, they close those doors, so that's not even an option. But you're out of the way. You're not standing in long lines, or hearing any of that noise. And you know what? If you don't want to stand in line and you don't want to go through the buffet, you just want to sit and look at a menu and have your waiter come to you for every meal, you can absolutely do that as well. You really make this experience exactly what you want it to be. And then at night, it's just a full service dining restaurant, different red and white wine featured every night. And we always have the regional meals to try, and the Riverside classics at the back of the menu. So if you just want, a good old steak, some chicken, a vegetarian option, not feeling too adventurous, or you just want something simple, there's always options for that too. The Atelier, this has been rebranded, Amber. This was the Bistro. Now it's the Atelier, and this is a really cool spot. It feels like a coffee shop vibe. That top right-hand corner is the Atelier on the Mozart, and then the other corner, the bottom left, is on our other ships. But the concept is that it really feels like a coffee shop vibe. You can get your specialty lattes here, bubble waffles, milkshakes, gelato. And throughout the day, so after the breakfast hours in Waterside, they're setting out breakfast items like granolas and fruits and pastries and whatnot. And then in the afternoon, swapping with charcuterie and pretzels, freshly baked, and other pastries. So you'll always have something to nosh on if you want, or if you didn't want to go to the breakfast and you wanted something later, then this is a great option too. You come back, you're famished from your excursion. You don't have to wait for mealtime. You can go to your room and get room service, or you can come here and nosh on whatever you want here. That's also unique because other lines don't have that available. So that's something to keep in mind, and you're constantly indulging if you want. And that's also great because we've got, the wraparound promenade deck if you want to get your extra steps in, and fitness center too. And you're going to be eating and drinking a lot on this cruise. But you're going to want to, because it's also delicious and special. Blue is our special restaurant on the Mozart only because she's twice the width. She can have a whole extra restaurant. And this is a lunch option tucked away at the back of the ship. It's awesome. Amazing burgers, fries. Here they're even doing special regional salads, soups, pastas, milkshakes, specialty lemonades. So it's a really fun and Instagrammable kind of spot. And it's tucked away. So if you don't want to be seen, then you don't have to. You can hide away back there. The vintage room I mentioned, this is our specialty dining room. It is an additional cost. This is a 7-course meal with wine pairing. So if you're a big wine lover, you've got a special celebration, you love fine dining, or you just want to try it out, this could be a real great option for you to consider. So the executive chef makes sure that he or she is speaking with everybody to make sure all their dietary preferences and requests are met. Then they come and speak to the about the dishes that they've created. And then the sommelier is coming out to speak about all the histories and stories behind the wines and champagnes that you're drinking, how they pair well with the dishes. And it's a true experience. It's a really, really incredible something to try. And the wines alone are what really elevate this experience. That actually is an actual dessert that I had there, where they're pouring, I can't remember what that was, a hot liquid that then melted the chocolate, and there's pop rock type of candies, or this beautiful bed of freshly baked pastry of some sort, some ice cream, some fruit, and it was remarkable. And then you get a souvenir menu to take home with you with all the descriptions of the wines and whatnot. So something to keep in mind. And for this, you could just let Amber know, whoever's interested in doing this experience, and we'd mark it in your reservation. And then once you're on board and we have a better idea of how many guests and of the itinerary and that particular sailing and what's going on, then the crew on board will determine which night is best for that. So keep that in mind. This is some photos of the Vista deck with the big green egg grills in action. Some more of the seating area that's just really cozy and comfortable. They even provide sunscreen up there in case you forgot your own. They'll always make sure that you've got a drink in hand. Of course, the pop-up bar that I mentioned. Then we've got an amazing spa pool lounge area. This pool is larger than you'd find on our other ships because, again, the ship is twice the width. So it has a neat feature with a current machine. So for resistant swimming, you push a button and you can keep up on your fitness, on your swimming. There's a jacuzzi. There are also both his and hers changing rooms that have a steam shower and dry sauna. And they're open for everybody to use. It is a true spa-like experience. Spa treatment rooms, 2 of these on the Mozart. And the feedback I've heard from this crew is just absolutely outstanding. The spa staff are trained at our Seaside Collection Hotel, the Fanolu Resort that's in the Maldives. That's where they're trained. So they're actual spa staff that are trained there. And there are just a number of incredible treatments that you can try. We even on this ship have a full-size hair salon and hair and nail salon. So it's really great for if you just want to stay back and get pampered, right? We were talking about maybe you've done the excursions. You really want to use this ship as a place to relax, rejuvenate, be pampered. And that is exactly what you can do. Fitness room, we've got a huge gym on the Mozart. We've got one whole side dedicated to weights and the exercise balls and everything. The other whole side is fit equipment like a rowing machine, bikes, ellipticals. But we've also got bikes that you can take off. They're complimentary to use, regular bikes and e-bikes. So again, if you choose to not do an excursion, then you can always take the bikes off, and our amazing team will gladly help you, navigate your way around the area, give you some tips. Now, just some really beautiful pictures of the public spaces. And as you know, the video is kind of quick, but here you can see, again, just the beautiful space that's luxury without being overstated. Lots of light, lots of those jewel tones, the beautiful bar area. It's just such a fun and cozy place to be, and huge windows too in that palm court area where the nightly entertainment is, and a lot of places to cuddle up, read a book, watch the beautiful scenery pass you by. We've got a connoisseur club. This is a cigar lounge on the Mozart only, and another really swanky place to go just if you wanted to get away and find a little private quiet space. Come here after dinner or something or before to enjoy a nice drink. If you have cigars or you want to buy them, you can smoke them in this room or the designated area on the Vista deck. And don't worry, there's a really strong filtration system in place here. So if you wanted to totally avoid that, you wouldn't even notice it. But really nice space there. And then more about the shore excursions. So just a heads up that I know that our team had to rework some things for the 2026 Mozart excursions, and those will be posted very soon. But in general, what we're doing with shore excursions is really keeping them small, private, small, more intimate, I should say, groups of about 15 guests. no more than 20. They're always accompanied by a Riverside staff member. And we're trying to offer very, very unique excursions that you cannot find elsewhere. And also keeping, the timing of that so that we recognize that guests want to have a really unique experience, but they also want their time to explore on their own. So we're really taking those things into consideration and have had a lot of feedback the last couple years. And so that's where we're still tweaking just a little bit right now. But the feedback that I've been hearing lately has just been absolutely phenomenal. And we're always going to have a choice of excursion in every port. That's not always the case on river cruises. Sometimes it's just, this is the morning excursion. This is the afternoon. Are you coming? Are you not? On ours, you have the choice. And most of the time, depending on the itinerary, depending on, the sailing date, that we will have a morning and afternoon excursions. So you'll have a choice between ideally something culinary, like a wine tasting, a cheese tasting, maybe a cooking class. In France, I did a truffle farm visit. Maybe something active, like a more moderate walking tour, or maybe a more vigorous hike or biking tour. And then something cultural. It could be, an amazing museum tour, for example. So we'll always be taking those into consideration. And that's another way in which flexibility plays a role. So you get to pick, what do you as an individual want to do based on your interests, based on your activity levels, etc. You know what? We love solo travelers. We're another way that we're really standing out is that we are offering a zero solo supplement waiver for solo travelers. This means that you, as a solo traveler, if you are a solo traveler, you can travel affordably and you don't have to wait for that perfect travel companion to join you. And with Riverside, solo travelers are not an afterthought. They're one of our first thoughts, from our pricing to the attention, the pampering. You get all of the pluses that go along with river cruising in general, especially, the whole idea of like unpacking your bag once. On Riverside, you get all the same other benefits that the other guests get, like the butler and the huge closet space and all those things, the huge bed, but you don't have to share it. So keep that in mind as well. So this would be in our Harmony Suite if you're a solo traveler and you're coming in this group. So you may already know some people, or maybe you just want extra space too. There's a lot of ways to think about that, but just know that if you want to travel in your own suite on your own, that you can do so.
And Kelly, can I mention,
Yeah.
If you have friends or a sibling or somebody that's maybe they don't have their spouse anymore, or, a lot of people don't travel because they think that they have to pay so much extra on a cruise. So have friends or family or your kids, I don't know, whoever. So think about, other people that would want to join you that don't want to pay more.
Yep. And another thing that we do have are connecting room options. So that's kind of nice if you wanted a connecting room, split up, have your own space, but have a little bit of that connection. That's something too that we can look into. That really wraps up what I have to say. I mean, I know it's a lot of information and it's great you recorded this, and I'm always happy to answer more questions now down the line as they come up. But just, keep us in mind to join in on this amazing cruise. And a couple other things I want to mention as well. If you don't want to wait to hop on, we still have some availability this year. So we've got a golf cruise coming up, a golf themed cruise. And if you're interested, ask Amber and I can send that over for July, where we've got, I don't remember all these details off the top of my head, but it's on the Danube. And there's a golf pro on board. You're hitting some of these major golf courses in the area. This is our first golf themed cruise that we've put out. So we're going to see how that goes, and just more is coming in the future. Absolutely. But we still have some space on that. We also have some space still on all the durations of cruises, kind of in pockets throughout the rest of the year. So if you want a last minute summer vacation, we can do that. You want to grab your family and friends and do a quick trip. I've heard as well that airfare to Europe is going down. Have you experienced that, Amber? Do you see that? Because it looks like for summer it might be becoming a little more favorable.
I haven't I haven't looked recently, but I have some opportunities. Actually, I'm in touch with Chris, who's on here right now. I need to start looking at a few, so I will be looking at that real soon. But honestly, I haven't had any clients that have, nobody's last minute booking right now, but I'm thinking things are kind of like people were a little bit afraid to pull the trigger on some things this year. Getting reports that nothing is amiss with traveling overseas right now. All my clients have been treated very nicely. There's no like hullabaloo about politics or whatever. So just put that out of your mind. And so hopefully.
Yeah. And I can echo that as well. I hear constant feedback from travel advisors, from their clients, other travel advisors I work with, clients who've been on. I mean, I've got a lot of feedback, like 10 different people just this past week or two. And none of that has come up. No reason for concern about, any treatment towards Americans or anything like that. I've also been hearing just fabulous things. So it's a great time to go. And, everybody's in a different position, in terms of travel plans and flexibility. So just keep that in mind. Also for the fall, we've got availability. And some still on our Christmas market cruises. So this is really cool. If you want us to set it and forget it, like Thanksgiving or right before Christmas or even over Christmas into New Year's, we have cruises that do all that whole time frame. And in fact, our final cruise is just over Christmas and ends like January 2nd or something. And that could be something really unique for you to do with your family instead of, buying gifts and things. Maybe you do an experience together. That's what my family and I did last year. We did a 4-night cruise from Vienna to Passau, and we did it right before Christmas. So we ended up flying home like the 23rd. And it was a really unique and special thing to do together. And instead of just, passing around the same, $100, here, I bought you this, here, I bought you this. It was really, really special. So that's something to consider. And we have Christmas market cruises on the Rhine and on the Danube. They're not in France. Those cruises will end on the Rhone in mid-November. But keep that in mind. And if you have any questions or ideas, reach out to Amber, and I'm happy to support her. And I'm here to give, you what you're looking for and what you need. So we hope to see you on board, and please consider joining, because river cruising is just a really special way to travel and build special memories with your loved ones.
So fun. So I just want to wrap up. We'll take questions if you guys have them. I just want to mention, I will send a follow-up email with my blog, if you want to read that, the flyer with the information and the options. I did also put together a list of excursion based on this year, but maybe I shouldn't share that, Kelly, because they're going to.
I think you're okay to share that.
I have a disclaimer. It's like these are.
Yeah, it's subject to change. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I know that we're doing a lot of the similar excursions. We're just, trying to make them even better.
Yeah.
But it's okay to change or to share that.
Like the city site, some of the basics.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah. No, that's fine, as long as just, you understand that they might change. But another important thing to note, well, I've gotcha, is that once they do come out, there's no rush or anything, because they're not going to fill up. There's enough room for everybody. And if there's this one particular type of tour that there is a limited capacity, it'll be made very clear. But you don't have to worry about that. We want you to sign up in advance, because we need to know how many of our amazing tour guides to, contract for that specific tour, because we'll split guests into smaller groups depending on how many want to do it. So that is important. And even if one person signs up for an excursion, they will run it. If nobody does, and you see it listed and nobody ends up signing up, and you get on board and you're disappointed because you don't see it, it's because there was no previous interest. So we're trying to say, please register in advance, but know that you can change your mind when you're on board. So it's not set in stone. You don't have to worry about missing out on any of that. We know that things come up. You might want to take it easy and skip a tour. You might opt out of not including tours. Yeah. You might not want to include tours. And then you'll meet other people and say, let's do that winery tour after all, or whatever the choice that you've got the choices.
Yep. All right. So why don't we, if you want to, Kelly, stop sharing, because then we can see everybody. Does anybody have any questions? You can come off mute. Anybody?
They're so excited. They're speechless.
There you go. All right. Well, that, like I said, I will share, I'll send a little follow-up email with more information. Feel free to share it with your friends. I'm happy to sit down and compare other cruise lines. That's kind of my specialty, is like, what's included? What's the different experience you're going to have? There's pros and cons to all of it. So, you know, that's why I love having some different options for folks. So, I guess that's kind of it. Anybody else?
That's great.
Okay. I'll send the video of this too that you can share too.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Hope to see you on
All
the
right.
rivers.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your time.